Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about Amazing Spider-Man 136. This is a few copies of this book. I think I have 3, 4 maybe. I think I have 4. This is one of my nicer copies of the book. It's still not great, and it needs to be a little pressed out. There's a little bit of spine roll here, but it's nicer than my favorite copy, which is this one here, which I had signed by Jerry Conway. Gosh, probably 25 years ago, 30 years ago maybe. I'd say late 80s, early 90s. And it's terrible. It's probably like a VG minus maybe. But we're going to fix it up. Some of the things we're going to do is we're going to remove look at these surface imperfections here. So if you can see there's a long fold. The book was folded here at one point. I think just possibly the cover was folded. Yeah, just the cover. And I'm going to take these imperfections out of it. I don't see a lot of dirt, but the cover's misaligned. This is just, it's not great. But the story is kind of fun. I mean, even though, Jerry Conway was not the best writer in the world, he was still figuring a lot of things out. There's some good drama here, but don't forget he's the guy that gave us Aunt May marrying Doc Ock, nearly marrying Doc Ock, and the Spider-Mobile in this time. So background here, we all know that 15 months earlier, Gwen Stacy was killed due to lazy writing and the fact that they didn't know what to do with her. They sent her off to London for a while after Captain Stacy had died. She returned, and Peter's life had become really complicated with lots of extra characters, and they didn't want to have him get married, and people liked the character enough that they didn't want to have him break up. So they killed her off, and a lot of laziness because, the physics of her neck-breaking thing was just not believable, like in any way, shape, or form. But so it was just lazy stuff. But then the very next issue after Norman Osborn's death, Harry figures out that Norman was his dad, and in 126 he finds his dad's stuff and decides to become the Green Goblin again. A couple issues, I think 134, 133 and 134, they tell us that Harry learns that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. They let him discover it. They really hit us over the head with it. And Peter's starting to get a little bit sweet on Mary Jane. Now, they haven't kissed yet. They're not an item, but they're hanging out. And then this is what we see. We get this great, picture of Spider-Man looming over the city and looming over his life and hanging out with a super foxy early 70s bell-bottomy looking Mary Jane. They're having ice cream. On a regular Sunday, just a nice day, they went on horse ride. They rode horses in Central Park. They took a boat to the Statue of Liberty, presumably a ferry, caught a kung fu flick, and now they're going to go hang out at home. So it's just a super sweet day, one of the best days Peter's had, especially since Gwen died, of course. And here we go. It's all about to be ruined because we have they're deciding whose place they go to, and he talks about it. Listening to an Ella Fitzgerald album, which there was a new Ella Fitzgerald album in 1974, but they're getting ready to go hang out at Peter's house, and Peter's about to have a really great day, it looks like. And she says, you do have potential, Mr. Parker, if only you'd loosen up and use it. Loosen up how? I'm a college junior majoring in physics. Mary Jane, I'm as loose as I'll get. I don't know about that, handsome. When we were in high school, you were demon dull. These days, you're almost bearable. Thanks a lot, I think. So she's got, here she is giving him the sexy eyes. She's licking an ice cream cone in front of him. Things are going down for Peter tonight. He's not aware yet, but Mary Jane's got designs. So anyway, they're heading back, having some banter, and they're talking about Peter, and then she says, Harry's getting a little jealous. He and I used to go out together, and he's still pretty touchy about the two of us dating, isn't he? So they're dating. They just haven't decided they love each other. They've just gone out on a couple dates. Don't worry about Mr. Osborn, MJ. My roommate and I haven't been seeing too much of each other lately. Now watch this. This is interesting. Frankly, I doubt he'll be in. In that case, Pussycat, let me do the door unlocking shtick. So he says, sure, if that's how you get your kicks. Oh, shut up. Male chauvinists always open women's doors for them. Why can't female chauvinists do the same for men? And then, so anyway, spider sense goes off and says, Mary Jane, don't turn that key. He jumps and covers her. Pretty good scene. I mean, this is great. I think this is Ross Andrew art. Yeah, it is. It is Ross Andrew art. It's really good. It's a good story. It's fun. It's not hella complicated, but it's fun still. So powerful moment. Getting like another girl gets blowed up. More kung fu references. So not great. Mary Jane's down and covered in black ink apparently, or dirt. And for several seconds, nothing moves, and the smoke swirling from Peter's apartment. A bomb exploded. Thankfully for his spider sense, she's unconscious, but her heart's beating pretty strong. Her breathing doesn't seem labored. I guess she's okay. I wonder if I am. So he looks in. His apartment's just completely wrecked, and he finds a detonating fuse that looks like one that's, I think it makes him think of the Green Goblin. So unless Harry's taking up pyrotechnics as a hobby, so he's going to be thinking of the Green Goblin soon. He says, I got maybe 2 minutes before they come up here and start searching this pad for clues. So, I guess we stopped to make sure that Mary Jane's okay, but he needs to start stashing his Spidey stuff right away. And he does that, and then we'll pick this up later. So we'll find this later in the issue with the tarantula, which I think is 148. We'll find this clothing later, so it's kind of interesting to come back to that. And so when the police arrive 6 seconds later, they find what they half expected to find, and the questions are graciously put off for later. Here's Peter and Mary Jane outside the hallway, and explosion. Pretty sad times, actually. And then, so we have this sort of a sanguine moment here where Peter's waiting for Mary Jane to wake up, and she does, and he sees Gwen's face, like a dead face, over the top of hers. He's freaking out a little, like talks to her. She's like, hey, Peter, what happened to me? And he says, I'll explain about it later. Right now, you better go back to sleep, okay? And then she says, okay. So yeah, super lazy writing. But he's now figuring out, it must be Green Goblin. These memories coming back with the Gwen thing, and his brains are scrambled, and lots of over-explaining what happened in Amazing Spider-Man 121 and 122. Not that they didn't really sort of relive it every single issue since 121. I think that was such a big hit back then. I remember, 7 or 8 years later, wanting a copy of this book, and I when I was a kid, I just could not find it. We already had this idea that it was sort of ungettable by most people. It was going to cost like $30, which nobody had, and you can tell, like every issue after that, it must have been a good success. They talk about it again and again and again, and Jerry Conway just will not let it go. So must have been really proud of that. So they'll talk about it for decades. Obviously, it's a monumental book, but man, they really let you have it with it in every book for a few years. So then Peter changes costume and runs around and tries to find Norman's. He goes back to one of Norman's old hideouts, which there were several, so he happens to go to the right one. He says, it's so dusty, no one's been here for a long time. We got all this goblin stuff, which, he didn't think to destroy or anything because he knew it was there. But he's like, hey, wait a minute, maybe this dust is fake in case somebody thought I might come back and see it. They would want it to look dusty. So he eats the stuff in a lab full of somebody making explosives and probably poisons of all kinds. So he says, it's dry soap, okay? Spidey, you're a genius. But then he waits out. But so we get a whole page of him just waiting and, building some tension, hanging out. So then we rewarded with this giant splash page of Green Goblin. Holy cow, it's really him. Green Goblin lives again. So it's a great page. Love the art. It's well done. Took a while to get there, but it's pretty good. Then we have lots and lots of fighting and talking, and Peter saying that he knows that it's Harry. It must be Harry, and the Green Goblin here is not acknowledging that, but he does acknowledge that he's not Norman Osborn. And let's see here. There's lots of fighting stuff. They make him a credible threat. And it's a good fight. Lots of good fighting stuff here. It was great. And then, until here, and then it gets really worse because it says the exhaust from his Goblin flyer, jet flyer, has knocked him out completely. So, you know, the exhaust fumes knock him out. Presumably not Harry, but just kind of weak after, you know, 3 or 4 solid pages of action. He just passes out because of, you know, exhaust fumes. So it was still fun to read, but just some of these things were a little harsh to land on. So he passes out, and then the Green Goblin reads, "I wanted to plant a bomb to kill you, but I realize now that was an error. Your death must be an execution in payment for the death of Norman Osborn. I have been your judge, jury." And then nothing. His little goblin sparkle beams, they call it, don't work in his gloves. So I must have used up the last of my energy source minutes ago. You have a reprieve, and he takes off. Spider-Man tries to jump on him, but he splits and makes Peter really nervous that, you know, Mary Jane is in the hospital. His best friend is turned into a Green Goblin and is threatening to reveal his secret identity. He goes to get money from Jonah, or he asks for a leave of absence. He tells him if he wants a week off, he's fired, so Peter quits, and then he has an outburst at Betty, who's only trying to be, I mean, obviously very clearly happy to see him, one of his first loves and first friends. He says, forget it, from now on. He's striking out of his zone, and he's super mad. And, you know, lots of dramatic tension. It was a fun book. I mean, I poked fun at it first. Some of it's just abrupt, lazy writing, obviously, but it was a good book. I mean, I really enjoyed it. Enjoyed the art. It's good tension. It sort of needed to happen. And that's it. So let's fix it up. So here's how we flip our books over. We got some dirt on the back that needs to come out. And we're going to press the stuff out of the front, and then we'll see how things look when we're all done. So how does it look? We're all done here, and this is the dirt we took out of the cover. I'm not sure if it shows up very well. It's not a lot. There's a little bit. And here's what it looks like. So here's how we handle the book. Slide something underneath it to support it, and then here's some different angles. I mean that crease is still here up the middle. I mean, this is not going to win any beauty contest clearly, but it is. It's better. This book's not really going to be beautiful anytime soon, but it does look better. The back is, let's see if we can right here, flip it over. Yeah, I mean, it's cleaner on the back too. I took a little eraser to it. I could probably wash it, and colors are not really cream, kind of yellowy, but it's a good looking book still. I mean, it's better looking book. I shouldn't say it's a great looking book, but it's mine and it's autographed, so this is the way it's going to stay. I like it. And lastly, here what it looks like with the artificial gloss of a Mylar bag and backing board. My little label here. This will go in my autographed comics bin. Probably have about 275, 200, close to between 250 and 300 autographed Spider-Man books that I got autographed myself, every one of them. So it's staying in my collection. That one's not going anywhere.